No NBA team has come back from an 0-3 deficit. The Boston Celtics are not the exception. 151-0, the record that will never be broken in this lifetime. The prospect of victory from an 0-3 deficit is practically impossible. You need to play 4 perfect games. You essentially have to sweep the team that has you on the verge of a sweep. Plenty of great teams, some championship teams, have had games like the Boston Celtics had in Game 7. But unfortunately, they couldn't afford to have a game like that because of the hole they dug themselves into. They were the 2 seed. At one point in the season, when the West appeared wide open, only 2 teams appeared to be true championship contenders, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics, and both of them got packed up by this Miami Heat team. But hold on, before we praise Miami, the difficult conversation must be had. A conversation that discusses the future of this Celtics core. Jimmy Butler and the Heat will be adorned in flowers soon, but first, we must autopsy the Celtics corpse, because they were lifeless after 3 quarters. To lose in such a manner in your arena in a Game 7 when your back's to the wall after a Herculean effort to get to that point. You think it's the perfect opportunity to go hero ball? Are you kidding? The Celtics wouldn't convert a 3-point field goal until second quarter. Boston finished the game shooting an atrocious 9 of 42 north of the arc. In comparison, Miami shot 50%. The Celtics launched a third more 3-pointers and converted less than half of what Miami did. The Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla was a Coach of the Year candidate. This man at no interval in the game felt it appropriate to alter his squad's shot selection. He had no problem with that. He was just, it's all good y'all, let it fly. If you find that hard to believe, just listen to the man himself.
Is this team too reliant on the 3-point shot? Does that have to change?
No.
Man, you can just feel his perturbation through the screen. He clearly regrets his game plan. I'm joking, but seriously, how do you not see the issue with your team settling for jump shots? At no point in the game were any of Boston's runs initiated from penetration. The only guy who understood that jump shots were not getting Boston anywhere was Derek White. His 8-0 run was their single lifeline to turn the game around, and they squandered it playing hero ball like they done all night. Yeah, they missed some good looks, and they smoked a lot of easy layups, but that's where you have to adapt. This is precisely why coaches like Steve Kerr and Eric Spoelstra are held in such high regard. Spo has kept the Miami job for so long because he's a phenomenal coach, and it's fantastic that he's getting his flowers now after taking Miami to yet another NBA Finals. Coach Spo's ability to insert guys in key moments of the game and mix up defensive looks is mastery of the art of coaching. Miami's zone is a true shapeshifter. Golden State runs some great zone defense, but nothing compares to Miami's. They're running high school defenses in the pros, and it's working. He knows how to charge the battery in his guys. Caleb Martin came out of nowhere and started hooping. Him, Vincent Strus, hell, Duncan Robinson got his groove back, and that's credit to them for their hard work and self-belief, but you gotta give credit to Coach Spoelstra for validating that hard work and self-belief. Doc could take a few pointers from Spoelstra on how to adjust your game plan. It's hard not to root for Miami. How could you not root for a team full of underdogs? Back to Boston, we have plenty more to discuss. From the first series in the postseason, they came out staggered. With a chance to shut the door in Game 3, why are you letting Trae Young get hot by giving him man-to-man looks? Watching this game is absurd. Yes, Ice Trae when he gets going is a tough cover, and I understand you don't want Young to beat you with his facilitating, but it's the Atlanta Hawks, not the Denver Nuggets. You can survive DeAndre Hunter and Sadiq Bey buckets. Game 4, I'll give credit where it's due. The Jays won the game. They survived Trae's burner in the 4th by answering with 28 as a pair. They stuck to the same game plan of letting Trae cook them one-on-one in Game 5, and what ends up happening is Trae walks them off, and now Boston must expend more energy trying to vanquish a playing team. And boy oh boy, Game 6 looked pretty disastrous because Atlanta had the lead with 5 minutes left. Fortunately for Boston, they hit some big threes to close out. They were 5 bad minutes away from a Game 7 against the goddamn Atlanta Hawks after gaining a 3-1 advantage. This Boston squad's experience got them through that moment, but they came out the first round looking sloppy, and they had to face Philadelphia, who looked very dangerous after sweeping the Brooklyn Nets. The series was back and forth, but by Game 6, Boston had their backs to the wall, and through 3 quarters, Tatum could have hit a beach ball into the ocean. But that man had his Kobe moment in the 4th. Once he saw that first 3 go in, it was wraps. Philadelphia was 1 quarter away from the Eastern Conference Finals, but Jason Tatum reanimated from the grave and took over. Game 7 against Philly really made me believe Boston had finally arrived. That Jason Tatum had arrived. A 50-piece after one of the worst performances of your career, where the MVP's light dimmed. Tatum's burned bright as the morning sun. Oh yeah, ring him. This is Boston's year. They really bamboozled the world because they exacted their demons against Philly, but they were helpless against the inferior Miami Heat. And this last hurrah forcing Game 7 after a 3-0 deficit is impressive, but it's meaningless. You just prolonged an ass whooping that should have took place 3 games prior. They should have never been in this situation in the first place. Why are you the championship favorites, but you constantly play down to your competition? You are the Boston Celtics, hands down the most talented team in the league. Honestly, it's a bit too talented. Because what ends up happening is this team becomes over-reliant on said talent. They don't focus on the small details, the smart plays, the easy plays. Everything needs to be a home run, a constant chase for a momentum swing. When you play lesser competition, that works. But if a team is intelligent and plays with poise like Miami, it's over. The Heat spent the whole year growing from their heartbreak against Boston from last year's playoffs. Boston clearly didn't, because they're faced with adversity and they retreat back to their old habits that have buried them every single year. It's frustrating watching a great team that is so inconsistent. It's not a lack of anything in particular. They have skilled players, shooters, perimeter defenders, paint protectors, depth, playmaking, you name it, and they play physical in spurts. They play smart in spurts. They hustle sometimes. They move the ball sometimes. There is no consistency with this roster. Blame the players, the coaches, injuries, whatever the circumstances were. In truth, nobody is free of blame. Tatum and Brown and the rest of the players need to do some reflecting. Coach Mazzulla has a year under his belt, so he should come back the next season more prepared. The organization as a whole should take a step back and examine if this team is championship caliber. Do this with clear heads. Making rash decisions based on emotions won't solve anything. Don't just go trading Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard like it's 2K. This core is still very young. They're a lot younger than one would expect, but that's because they've been competing at a high level for such a long time since entering the league. This team has what it takes to win a championship, but they fall short time after time. They never rise to the occasion, and that's not a problem coaching or roster shifting can solve. Tatum and Brown are the 2 titans of this team. The question becomes, can this tandem win it all? And only hindsight knows that answer. But an important decision must be made this summer. You extend Jaylen Brown with a $300 million Supermax contract and rise from your trouncing, or is it time to go shopping? To be honest, unless Brown seriously wants out, run it back. There's no timetable with these two. They're 2 elite basketball players who have plenty of hurt and experience to grow from, and they're clearly guys who care about winning. Their defeats aren't the result of a lack of trying or effort, just misjudgment, and they still haven't entered their primes. Going to the conference finals year after year and a finals trip under your belt will accelerate the aging process, but Mike didn't win his first ring until he was 27, and it took the dream 10 seasons with the Rockets to finally reach the mountaintop at 31 years old. Have some faith. It's easy to be pessimistic, but making hasty decisions can ultimately burn you. We've seen how much success star shopping has brought teams like Brooklyn and Philadelphia. There's no dream acquisition that would significantly make the Celtics a better team unless Giannis comes out and says he hates the Bucks and cheeseheads or something. You're signing Jaylen Brown one way or another. He's not walking for free unless Brad Stevens hates having a job. Marcus Smart being moved is unlikely because there have been talks for years but nothing materializes. And considering he's a defensive player of the year and the heart of this core, it doesn't seem possible. Robert Williams is their best shot blocker, and there aren't too many guys who can fill his shoes on the defensive end across the league, not just in Boston. Now the rest of the roster could be moved around. None of these trades would be blockbuster, but I think this is the best plan moving forward. General Manager Brad Stevens needs to make strategic trades and free market signings that will fill in all the cracks. Maybe another Patrick Beverley type who's going to scratch and claw alongside Marcus Smart every night and do all the dirty work. Because after Marcus Smart and Derek White, this team lacked intensity, and that was desperately needed against Miami. They could also use a true point guard. But Brad Stevens is a very intelligent man, and I'm sure he would devise an offseason plan to fit the final piece of the puzzle. One more year. Give this core one more year. One more run with the acquired experience from all these past setbacks. For this young Boston Celtics team, this is their final term. They either pass or fail, but they're used to that. They know what's on the line. So be prepared for the next one. Prepare like you've never prepared before. And tap Lucky 3 times for good charm. Thanks for watching.